Honestly, pure pandemonium and chaos.
A huge plume of smoke is blowing all across Altadena and Pasadena right now.
We just have one house after another that is completely on fire.
The only way to describe the destruction of what we're seeing out here, it looks like a war zone.
Has wiped away decades of rich Black history and culture in Altadena, a town that became a sanctuary for Black Americans fleeing the Jim Crow era segregation in the South. Thousands of families put down roots there in the 1960s, as Altadena was one of the first areas to allow Black people to own homes. And now generations are devastated. Their beloved community turned to ashes.
Yeah, a lot of people talked about that. They had just celebrated their last holiday in their homes and just had family and friends over and really got to enjoy that time. And just a few weeks later, everything's gone. And it's not just about things, but everything that you've built and that you have is gone. Like this family here, I see, there's a play structure. So they had kids, I'm sure, and they're probably displaced and they don't have anywhere to go. This is millions of dollars of generational wealth just erased.
So it's 6:30, even with the windstorms, with all that stuff, we're at the park training, literally. Right. So I got kids that are all the way from Oaks Christian, along with the community local kids, because that's how I've always created community, is to bring you here. And we were at the park training, running laps, doing the normal. That's how we saw the fire. The kids literally were like, Coach Z, there's a fire. I'm like, y'all always trying to get out of this. And they're like, no, but for real, we're not playing. There's and it wasn't close. They're like, no, there's a fire down there that we could see. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then I look, I'm like, oh, you're right. So we saw when it actually started.
Make that make sense. On that day, January 7th, I'm at Eaton Canyon filming the fire where it first started. Never did I have an inclination that 12 hours later, Altadena would be burnt up. It just doesn't make any sense.
The fire was all headed this way, but it turned. So that's kind of wild.
That's close. I can feel the heat, and that is hitting you in the last. I couldn't even picture what I'm seeing, and basically it was just fireballs shooting, and he's like, look where they're hitting. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And then that's when you asked wouldn't the panic set in, that's when it set in. I took off, ran down, grabbed my wife, told her we gotta go get the baby ready. She had to get her all situated, everybody sleep. She's like, what? And I'm like, no, we really need to go.
So let me call, no service. Let me text, no service, but here it is. I'm getting this loud Amber Alert for evacuation from Eaton Canyon.
A lot of people on this side of town didn't get any notifications. So these people, this neighborhood specifically, they were leaving at 3, 4 in the morning with flames above their heads and just leaving with whatever they had on. Leaving with one car, making sure you get your pets out.
While I'm sitting there, I could see everything. So when it got later, I finally saw where the fire actually shifted and started coming over this mountain. And you could see it straight over this wall where you could see the mountain.
My mother called 911 3 times. They had her voice recordings on there. To be honest, I can't even listen to them. Too devastating. My mother meant a lot in this community. This is the only place I've ever lived. That's why when I go somewhere else, I'm not comfortable because I'm used to being around my people, not being the minority. But now, everything's changed. Thank you.
You wake up the next day, the city is dark, it's full of ash. You can't see anything. You can't really see ahead of you. You can't see the street ahead. Then you start to hear people's house burn down, so-and-so's house burned down, so-and-so's house burned down. I know at least 3 families that someone from the family stayed on the roof and watered their roof and kept the flames away from their house, and they saved their homes and maybe saved their neighbor's home if they could until they ran out of water.
After all of this, my uncle died 2 weeks ago. My mom had to bury her brother. That was the first of her 2-parent siblings that's ever died in the midst of all this. Before all of this started, my little cousin died from cancer. Chanel. And you said her namesake, I'd be so sad. Chanel Mallet, she died of cancer in her 20s. And I had to go to her funeral a week after or a week or two after the fire. She died on the 1st of the year. So imagine that's how you start the year, literally New Year. She died on New Year's. Then a week later, it's this. That's when trauma does kick in. Because there's a blank part that's blank. I don't know when I first saw my house being burned down. I don't know when I realized everything was lost. All of that is blank.
But now, everything's changed.
Can you imagine you just bought a house 2 years ago, $1 million over, now it's gone? The national average of home ownership in America for Black people is 40%. In Altadena, it was 80%. So even though we're only, 14 to 18% of the population, 80% of those people own their homes.
No one knew Altadena existed like that. And then to find out that it's the highest land ownership per capita with people in the nation, and you don't even know that it exists, that should tell you something.
That before the fire, the Black home ownership rate in Altadena was double the national average, and that is significant.
Yeah, I think it's really important because Altadena was one of the first places that other races could purchase homes, where in other cities, even Pasadena, they didn't want them to buy there, right? So you had Black, brown, and Japanese families that were able to purchase homes in Altadena. Like, that became their enclave.
I started talking about the whole African American community. And I really went into the whole speech about redlining, and I talked about how Black people used to be servants in Pasadena, and they were only allowed to be in Altadena at that time because they wanted them separate in that area and stuff like that.
That's the importance of having the generational wealth that homes passed down. So your mother was able to do that for you. You could one day do that for your kids.
100%. And that's how you build the wealth. Right. Even to have that, I wouldn't even have that option. Right. To be able to pull, and her house is paid off free and clear. That's the difference, paid off.
Right.
Pre-fire, I will say it's special in the way that it is a community feel. A lot of multi-generational families that are here, so you'll find people that are born and raised here and they don't move away. Or if they do move away, they realize, I want to go back.
If you looked at our family, it goes black, white, black, 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 white, black, Asian, white, black, black, Asian, white, black, black. This was like I said, the bike riding street. Like I said, jumping curves, coming out these, laughing and playing, knowing every single neighbor that has ever lived here. This was like the rotating house before Miss Mimke stayed here, used to have a gate. They actually burned down that house before all the fire. That's why the house is still standing, because it's fireproof. That's a whole nother conversation. Like, I could literally give history on every little part of the street. This is B's house, the sheriff that I told you that was loved in the community. That's Eddie's house, Black family. They literally lived here whole time, same thing. This is where the sheriff used to come, and he worked for Warner Brothers, and he's well known, well loved, and this is where I bought my first CD was from him. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. LL, all back. He sold me a CD because he worked. It was literally, that's Eddie and B. They're in their 80s and living there. My friend Django's house was here. Before they moved, the people who still own that house, when they sold that house. This house is another Black family that my homeboy D, his mom, they live there. This is a white family that I've loved and been there. We come over and have their little parties, and you know, introduce the neighborhood to the new kids that their grandkids that they have.
My mother meant a lot in this community. This is the only place I've ever lived. That's why when I go somewhere else, I'm not comfortable because I'm used to being around my people, not being the minority.
You really have this beautiful microcosm of what could have been in the rest of not only LA, but the country, had there been easier access to homeownership for people of color.
But if you don't own anything, what is the point? If you don't have anything to pass down, what is the point? And it's all gone, and if it's not protected, we'll never get it back. This isn't, I'm talking about ever. I'm talking about this will never be in our hands, will never exist again.
Post-fire, we've been helping families with rental grants for homeowners that lost their homes. They also need rental assistance, right? Because they're still paying their mortgage and having to pay new rent. They're still paying their mortgage, you got to pay the rent here, and then you have to focus on, okay, I only have $500,000 to rebuild, so I'm short. I talked to someone yesterday and their gap is about $600,000. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of that.
I can't even think about rebuilding because our state farm hasn't given us one penny. We haven't made a dime. This part about rebuilding, I'm not even there yet because we don't have no money. And they want it like that. My favorite quote of what happened is, "This is property genocide."
Yep.
How can you start over? You work so hard, you get the American dream, you buy your house, you get your kids through school, you do all of that, and you set things up the right way, and then a disaster.
We've heard frustrations with FEMA as far as multiple denials, multiple appeals, the process being arduous and burdensome. And so people aren't looking to FEMA, quite frankly, to provide a significant and meaningful resource right now.
Another thing that's been coming up is the inability for people to be able to rent houses. FEMA has not released a program that they have to kind of have a master lease for people. And so that's just a conversation that's been coming up with the local representatives. If you have you and 6,000 of your neighbors all lost their homes and you are all trying to stay in the local area, that's been an issue of just not having enough housing and then the barrier of entry to get into that housing.
While there was availability on some level of rental housing, the access didn't follow the availability, right? And so, yeah, a lot of people, just like I put in application after application, landlords were out here being bogus, trying to, capitalize on the disaster.
I've already heard 2 people have been scammed of, giving a contractor maybe like a down payment and then he's disappeared. Because people don't know, how many people have ever built a house from scratch? There's less than 30 or 40 permits that have been issued to rebuild. So you imagine 6,000 structures, residential structures, right? And 40 so far with 6 months in. How fast is it really gonna be?
Destroyed all the property. Now the people will be easy, just hold back on their money. Make all this red tape.
I'm beginning to believe that that's by design, that they're trying to starve people out in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Make you expand all your resources to where you can afford to stay.
I'm starting to hear a lot of that. The families, you have the generational wealth families, right, where they, houses were paid for and things like that, and they're underinsured. But the other side of that is the families that have bought in the last 5 years, maybe they are underinsured based on today's prices, and how do they navigate that? They shouldn't have to take on more debt and go bankrupt for something that's not their fault.
How do you live properly when everything that you've ever known is gone? I really don't. And I don't know how to get back to, I don't have a normal now.
And I know we stay strong and we walk through it, but people don't understand it. That's the main part. People really don't understand how painful this really is.
If I don't keep something here, we won't have it. It'll be taken away.
I read something recently where a big majority of the properties are getting bought by, I guess outside investors. Is that what's going on right now?
Yeah, 100%. Especially because you have to purchase these lots the majority of the time in cash. And so there's not many people that have $500,000 to $700,000 to purchase a lot.
There's a risk of it being, not even close to the same Altadena, right? Because you've got speculative developers and investors trying to come in, as they often do, to capitalize and exploit natural disasters, try to get things for cheap and turn it around and make a profit.
You wipe this out, it's another place that we don't exist. We just wiped it off. We don't have ownership of, we don't have it anymore. It'd be catastrophic.
Right now, Green Line's the only people doing a master lease.
So out of all the thousands of people,
Yeah.
just Green Line is
Green
on.
Line's the only one that stepped up so far.
Wow, wow.
We have housed over 20 families for a total of probably about $400,000.
We ultimately want people to stay here and rebuild, and we want to prevent a mass exodus of the ethnic fabric and the cultural heritage that makes Altadena so unique.
I think the elephant in the room always is the demographic of what Altadena was, and just being able to get back to that is important to everybody.
The biggest part has to do with recovery. So this is disaster capitalism. If you guys watch all the disasters that goes on, being taken advantage of in the community, being taken advantage of, and to be able to build back equitably has not been done.
In the last month, there has been over 100 lots sold. So that's something that a lot of people are worried about, and who's purchasing the lots and what they're going to do with them.
That's why I'm doing this community rebuild, to try to protect them from that. You talking about saving a community. We talking about civil rights and stuff that we talk about or saw on TV that we can actually be a part of and make change in real life and be in those history stories. So why wouldn't we?
If you're retired, you're on a fixed income, you don't have 3 times the rent for a $4,000 a month rental. Or maybe your credit's not that great, and that's another barrier of entry.
But it has to be your community. If you depend on anybody else, because they always try to leave the community out of it, and that's why they haven't been successful.
The 137th annual Rose Parade is just weeks away, but the stunning floats take months of planning and building to bring to life.
Eaton fire survivors making a statement they wanted the world to see.
You're talking about people who lost everything, who got to see their whole lives, including myself, wiped away. This is my mother. You gonna say hi, Mom?
What's her name?
Rashida, or Miss Evelyn. Miss Rashida.
Hi, Miss Rashida.
You know, today is about healing. It's about showing the world that 31 lives were lost in these horrific fires.
I lost a dear friend, wife and I, Barbara Lewis. She lived 28 East Palm Street. And we've been friends for over 50 years. And Barbara was going into early dementia. So unfortunately, she didn't make it out. I used to take her food, try to help her out. If someone dies, we're talking about a human life, and there's no one to say, to lift them up, or give honor to that person. So I thank you guys for recognizing human life. For recognizing.
My sister Laura, at 563 East Los Forest. My sister Laura, she was my older sister, my only sister, my baby sister. She was my favorite.
But Miss Kelly's died. She didn't get that. It's how they didn't get her. But I just want to honor her because she was beautiful. Always, our whole life growing up there, she grew up there.
I don't stand before you with flowery words. I stand before you just to tell you that you have a right to cry. You got a right to feel. Because the reality is that for most of you here, people don't know what you all are going through.
I know everybody says it's been a year, but for us, who's going through it, it feels like a million years and yesterday at the same time. And the pain of it, it's so hard.
This entire float, which represents a phoenix rising out of the ashes, is part of what today's about. Survivors themselves have put this together. Thousands of lives were impacted, and those lives are still hurting.
Those of you who lost a loved one will be asked to put the name of that loved one and add it to the float.
Somebody, you don't want to put your rose? See all the flowers? Yeah, I'm honoring my sister, Evelyn McClendon. She was the first one found in the fires.
This living memorial, this testament to our commitment to helping this community rebuild and be whole.
As homes start to get rebuilt and as people start to see that, it's allowing people to see that there is still hope.
Take advantage of, these gatherings as much as you can and meet people and continue to grow together. Do it together. Whatever it is, together, because you're stronger together.
I hope that not only Altadena has what she needs to rebuild, but I hope that any inequities that were illuminated in this can be addressed and resolved so that Altadena can actually build back better.
We gotta do it together. I'm not gonna be happy unless everybody back. If things don't happen and we don't get back and we don't have that community and we don't have people to help out, we will be wiped out.
If they could rebuild 1,000 structures a year, we're looking at 9 to 10 years just for everything to be quote unquote back to what it was.
So one of the benefits of a modular home is the time that it takes. You're looking at less than a year because it is built somewhere else and then they drop it off at your lot.
Why won't we put these systems in place now and knowing that this could be an ongoing thing and we could at least be protected, insulated in that to be able to at least help ourselves too.
The issue that I'm trying to set up is infrastructure. So now there'll be a plan for every community when a disaster happens.
You want a peaceful place that you're at least loved and cared about? At least you know there's a city that's embracing, that's diverse, that's a black community. That's what I'm trying to say. We only have so many. Don't take away the few we have. Gentrification makes that worse. Because then you don't have it. Then what?
You inspire me, bro, because to be honest, God called you to be this person that you have been. Wasn't my calling, I couldn't do it. God don't make mistakes, and I appreciate you really taking control and trying to get the community and doing all these other things. Because without you, Altadena would be forgot about.
We have to keep pressing it strategically throughout the whole thing to keep the light. So I'm trying to keep the light for everybody else.
Either you be part of the problem or you be the change of the problem. So then that's when I was like, well, get stuff done while you can use that energy too, because if you sit feeling bad, you're not gonna have nothing to come back to. This won't exist. This won't exist.
I'm really glad to see so many community organizations come together. We are going to have grants available up to $250,000 to help in the rebuild. That wolf has just always been there. And now to scare people away and tell them that Altadena is not for sale.